another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so first of all, for those of you who may not know, Elden Campbell passed away at 57, at the age of 57, a few days ago, and it was confirmed by several teammates, former teammates and family. 57 years old, Elden Campbell was. Spent the majority of his career with the Lakers, then moved on to the Hornets. Had a brief stint with the Seattle Supersonics, and was an NBA champion with the Detroit Pistons. He was on that 2004 Pistons team that won the NBA championship. Okay. He came into the NBA as a rookie in 1990. Okay. Drafted by the Lakers in 1990. And so he was already coming to a Lakers team that had went 63-19 the previous year. But Lakers had a new coach, Mike Dunleavy. The core was still there. Magic, AC, Byron, James, along with a couple of new faces, Sam Perkins, Terry Teagle, and of course, Elden Campbell, Tony Smith, Larry Drew. So the core was still pretty much there when Elden Campbell joined the team in 1990. He did see some playing time in the series, the playoff series against the Golden State Warriors. And he saw a little bit of action against the Portland Trail Blazers in the conference finals. But he made a name for himself on the biggest stage in the 1991 NBA Finals, okay? So, for those of you who may not remember, James Worthy was playing on a badly sprained ankle that he suffered against the Trailblazers, okay? And so, by Game 4, he could no longer, that ankle was so bad that he could no longer play on it, okay? And Byron Scott was injured too, okay? So, Byron Scott and James Worthy did not play in Game 5, which meant Dunleavy had to start AC Green and Terry Teagle with Tony Smith and Elden Campbell coming off the bench, okay? And Elden Campbell played very well. Elden Campbell played very well that game. He had 21 points in Game 5 of the 1991 NBA Finals. Yeah, he played well. He had 21 points, 1 block, 2 steals, and 2 rebounds. Okay? Not bad for a 21-year-old rookie. Okay? Tony Smith also played well. He had 12 points. AC Green had 13. Magic had 16 points, 20 assists. Sam Perkins played well, 22 points. So yeah. And not only that, Elden Campbell went 9 for 12, 21 points in only 27 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You go 9 for 12, score 21 points in 27 minutes. Not bad for a 21-year-old kid going up against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls on the biggest stage in Game 5. Yeah, so so that was Elden Campbell making his name on the big stage. Got traded mid-season to the Lakers, to the Hornets in 1999, along with Eddie Jones, which really hurt the Lakers in the playoffs because you're going up against guys like Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and the Lakers ended up getting swept. Okay, so but towards the end of his career, he was rewarded with a championship with the Pistons and retired shortly thereafter. So rest in peace, Elden Campbell. Yeah. All right. So hold on. Here we go. Okay. No, not that. Okay, yeah. So Shaquille O'Neal, drafted number one by the Orlando Magic in 1992. But what a lot of people don't know is that the Orlando Magic almost did not take Shaquille O'Neal in the 1992 NBA draft. They almost didn't. And you may ask, well, what was the reason? Well, why did they almost not take Shaquille O'Neal? Okay, I'll tell you. So Orlando had the first pick, so obviously they were taking Shaq. So the draft is about to start. Okay, and the draft is about to start, and something happened. Okay, the phones went dead. Okay, the phones went dead. Yeah, the phones went dead. So Orlando couldn't call. Um, so Orlando couldn't call the NBA to tell them, hey, we are taking Shaq. Okay, so Orlando had a PR guy by the name of Alex Harris. And you know, cell phones back in the day, they were the brick type cell phones, okay? Okay. So GM Pat Williams said, oh, okay, go into an area where you have reception. So Alex Karras was able to call the pick in to the NBA and say, hey, we're taking Shaq, okay? But again, the Orlando Magic almost did not take Shaq because the phones went dead, okay? That would have been real interesting, okay? The history of the NBA could have been changed if those phones had stayed dead. And Alex Karras, the PR guy for the Orlando Magic, did not have a cell phone, okay? That could have changed NBA history right there. All right? But Alex Karras said either today the Orlando Magic were able to say, hey, Shaq, and the rest is history, right? Speaking of Shaq, saw a story. There we go. Yeah. So, Greg Kite was the center on the Orlando Magic before Shaq got there. And Greg Kite was a two-time NBA champion with the Celtics, spent a little bit of time in Charlotte, Sacramento. And he came to the Magic in 1990, was the starting center for 91-92 until Shaq came in. And then he was relegated to the bench, right? So it's Shaq's first training camp in 1992, and Greg Kite is the veteran, okay? And Dennis Scott had been there the previous 2 years as well. So Shaquille O'Neal learned a lesson in humility during his rookie year when veteran center Greg Kite arrived at training camp to impart wisdom to the young Orlando players. But their interaction didn't go as planned, okay? According to Jackie McMullen. Um, So Shaq says he was telling me stuff on how to be a center. But in my mind, I was already the best center, so I kind of disrespected him one day. Let me tell you something. Greg Kite is a tough. Greg Kite is a tough guy. Okay, Greg Kite is a tough guy. Okay, he was a two-time defending champion on the Celtics. Okay, a two-time champion on the Celtics. Okay, and Greg Kite is a tough guy. Greg Kite looks like a tough guy. Okay, so Dennis Scott, 3ED. Um, Word of that got back to Dennis Scott. Okay, and so then Dennis Scott put Shaq in his place by saying, Kite knows what he's talking about. O'Neal was still snotty in his remarks, stating, so I'm like, how? He can't even play. I'm killing this guy in practice. Scott gave the big guy a harsh dose of reality. Okay. Kite was the first round draft pick in 1983 by the Celtics, 1984, 1986, NBA champion. Became a full-time starter in his first year in Orlando. He was relegated to the bench when the franchise drafted Shaq in 1992. Shaq said this. He was one of those pieces that fit perfectly for a championship team. He was talking about Greg Kite. So I said, you know what? I better start listening. And Shaq did start listening. And so when the Orlando Magic retired Shaquille O'Neal's jersey, guess who was there? Greg Kite. Okay. His mentor. Okay. And Greg Kite was one of those guys you did not mess with, okay? Greg Kite was one of those veteran guys you did not disrespect, okay? So, yeah. When veteran guys start to tell you stuff, you better listen. And I think that's one of the reasons why the NBA is unwatchable today. We have no veteran liaison guys to teach these guys how to be pros on the court and off the court, okay? And so that's one of the reasons why the NBA is in the shape that it's in today. So I saw something. You know, when fans would say stuff to players back in the day, okay? When fans would say stuff to players back in the day, the players would use it as jet fuel, okay? To fuel their performance. So if somebody was shouting stuff at the stands to Larry Bird would use it as jet fuel. If they said stuff to Magic Johnson would use it as jet fuel. You know good damn well if you said stuff to Michael Jordan, he was going to take it into overdrive, okay? Prime example, okay? Jordan's 69-point game, okay, against the Cavaliers in 1990. He drove to the hoop and he got fouled hard by John Hot Rod Williams, okay? And when he got fouled hard, the Cleveland fans, they cheered when Michael got fouled hard. And so the Bulls trainer at that time was a guy by the name of Mark Feil. Mark Feil came on the court to check on him, okay? And After several seconds, Jordan got up and he said to Mark File, he said, Mark, these people are about to pay for it. And you know what? They did. 69 points in a 117-113 overtime victory. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. So, I say that because I've been seeing a lot of videos of NBA players getting fans tossed out. Okay? Whatever happened to players using stuff that the fans say and translating it into better play? Whatever happened to that? Okay? Instead, today's players are so freaking soft that I just saw a video the other day of Josh Giddey of the Chicago Bulls. I believe that's his name. He had a fan thrown out because Josh couldn't handle something that the fan said. Okay? Whatever happened to players, to fans saying, hey, you play like a girl. Hey, you play like an idiot. And the players saying, okay, I'm going to shut you up with how I play the rest of the game. Whatever happened to that, okay? Players would use stuff fans say as jet fuel to translate into better play. Why can't the players in the NBA do that today? Players today, hey, are soft. They're soft. Players are just so soft today. Okay? And I've been seeing a lot of videos of players getting fans thrown home. The NBA. The NBA. Kobe Bryant once said, no bees allowed. That's what Kobe Bryant, the famous Kobe Bryant line. No bitches allowed. Okay? And today's players, they act like bitches. That's right, I said it. Players today act like bitches because they're soft. And they can't translate what fans say into better play because they're so soft and entitled. They're soft. Soft bitches is what they act like. Because you can't handle stuff that fans say. And you can't translate that into better play for yourself. It's sad. It's sad. All right. That's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. May God bless you all.